this lip reader did have Harry saying to Jack Brooksbank, who was sitting next to him in the service, I'm fed up with the way they treat me. Now, who they are, we don't know, but we can have a pretty good guess, can't we?
Well, watching the concert, of course, was Valentine Low, the Times' royal correspondent. Very good morning.
Good morning to you, Rosie. That Lionel Richie joke of Williams, that was a real dad joke, wasn't it?
It was, and he was such a dad at the concert as well, waving his flag in front of his children's faces when they were trying to watch it. He is a dad. He's also Prince of Wales, and he will go through this process that we've seen over the weekend. What did you make of his speech last night?
I thought it was very touching. A tiny little thing I can tell you is that the original drafts, he talked about the Queen would have been a proud mother. By the time we came to give the speech in front of the 20,000 people at the concert, he said she would have been a very proud mother. Not terribly meaningful, but I think it just speaks to the way that I think William was speaking from the heart. I think he really meant what he said. He does love and respect his father, and in particular, he respects his commitment to service, which is something William tries to, achieve too. And it also speaks, this speech, to the way that I think there's kind of harmonious relations between monarch and heir, which of course throughout British history and even quite recent history has not always been the case. So in terms of the kind of overall future of the royal family, it looks quite good at the moment.
What did you think about the concert in its entirety? Lots of people saying it sort of reflected Middle England. It didn't really have that absolutely stellar Stardust performer.
No, I think I agree. It was perfectly enjoyable. It was kind of fun. I thought Stevie Winwood was great. I thought Lionel Richie was pretty good too, but nothing absolutely amazing. If you were there, and I was lucky enough to be there, lucky enough to endure the hour and a half queue to get in.
Oh my gosh!
But the best thing actually was the drone display, which you had to see all these fantastic sort of things from the natural world appearing in the sky, butterflies and beetles and whales and a lion, and it was absolutely stunning. That was by far and away the best bit of the show, I thought.
I think musically it was brilliant to have the sort of Commonwealth choir early on. They did make a fantastic sound, even though I was only watching it via the TV and not sat on my sofa, not in the crowd like you.
You're partial to a choir, though.
I
has
do.
To be so.
I do love a choir. It's true. I'm not neutral on that. But when we talk about the Commonwealth, there are potentially some awkward conversations and decisions to come. How do you think the King is going to navigate those?
I think he will continue to sort of adhere to the line the royal family has always done, that it is up to these Commonwealth realms who they want as their head of state. And if they don't want the British monarchy involved, that is their decision. I mean, I don't think he can do anything else other than, accept their decisions with good grace. So you saw him go to Barbados for the ceremony marking Barbados transitioning from a monarchy to a republic, and he was there, and I was there with him, and it was extraordinary. There was this long sort of kind of 3-hour ceremony late at night, and poor Charles was absolutely jet lagged. I could see him there. He was sort of in his early 70s, however old he was then. And just dead on his feet, but his commitment to duty and commitment to doing the right thing and being seen to do the right thing was very much on display that night.
Mm-hmm. The Commonwealth and potentially how many of them will want to keep the King in his current role is one problem. But you wrote, for all the high spirits in Buckingham Palace, the King knows his problems haven't gone away, not just internationally, but much closer to home with his own family.
Yeah, the Harry problem. We really saw the Harry problem in the starkest terms of the coronation. He was here for such a short time. As soon as the coronation was over, he jumped into a car and drove off to Heathrow to fly home to his family. And today we read him on the papers, according to a lip reader, and I think the the words of lip readers should always be taken with a slight pinch of salt. They're not always 100% accurate, but this lip reader did have Harry saying to Jack Brooksbank, who was sitting next to him in the service, I'm fed up with the way they treat me. Now, who they are, we don't know, but we can have a pretty good guess, can't we?
And when he's talking about where they treat me, is it where he was sat in the service, who he arrived with? What do you think his particular problem was at that point?
I don't know. But actually, I think there's something very interesting about where he was sat in the service, so it was 3 rows back. It was kind of all about defusing Harry, wasn't it? And he was, he was sat with the cousins with whom he has a good relationship. So Beatrice usually, he gets on well with them. They're his friends in the royal family, really. So that was all good. And he was miles from anyone else, stuck behind Princess Anne's feather. But I think you have to ask yourself this question: if Harry and Meghan had stood down as working members of the royal family those 3 or so years ago, but it had all been done amicably and with the royal family's blessing, there'd be none of the rows, none of the bitterness, no Netflix, no Spare, none of that. And if they all still had good relations, but he wasn't a working member of the royal family, where would he have been sat then? I don't think he would have been in the 3rd row back. I think he's the king's son, and he would have been near the front.
If relations had been far better than they were at their current sort of frosty state. Finally, sorry to sort of give a bit more credibility to things lip-read through different means of, well, this time through a coach on Sky News. The King was caught on camera apparently complaining about being made to wait outside, saying, "We're always late."
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but it was the Wales's transport was meant to arrive before them, but it arrived afterwards. So the King and the Queen had to wait for the Princess of Wales to get there. It's just one of those cock-ups that happened at coronations. Every coronation has its errors and mishaps, and this was just one of them. And
a small hiccup, I think we'd say.
It was a small hiccup, yeah.
Yeah, he said, supposedly, we can never be on time. There's always something. This is boring. Do you think he was bored before the service started? Because he had an awful lot to remember, the processes on the world stage.
No, I think he was tense and nervous. As anyone would be. This incredible moment you're about to go through. You've been building up to it all your life. You've been preparing it for months. Every detail's been checked over 1,000 times. You've been rehearsing for the last few weeks, and the eyes of the world are going to be upon you. And of course, in those circumstances, if anything starts to go wrong, if someone's late, if the order of the carriage arrivals is all wrong, you're going to get a bit tetchy. I would.
Yes, before you've even arrived. My favourite bit from watching outside of the Abbey, reporting for Times Radio, was watching people dash out of the Abbey gift shop to mop the stairs to make sure they weren't slippery. So every tiny bit of detail was looked after. Valentine, thank you so much. Valentine Low is the Times royal correspondent. Of course, there's lots in the paper this morning, lots of different details.